Chicago Bears are staring down a brutal loss on the defensive side of the ball, and it's one that could shake up the entire identity of this team. Jalen Johnson, the leader of this secondary and one of the most consistent cornerbacks in the NFL over the past few seasons, is now likely out for the year. Nothing has been officially confirmed just yet, but even Johnson himself has hinted that it's looking grim. On 670 The Score, he acknowledged that they're exploring all options and that, at the very least, he's going to miss a significant amount of time. The writing is on the wall. The Bears are now scrambling to patch up a defense that was already dealing with enough problems, and they'll have to figure out how to do it without their top guy in the secondary. According to Jordan Schultz, Johnson is expected to miss the rest of the regular season with a groin injury. There's still a sliver of hope he could return late in the year if the Bears are somehow in playoff contention, but realistically, that feels like a long shot. The initial outlook is not promising. Ben Johnson added that this groin issue is technically a new injury and not a recurrence of the one he was previously nursing. Still, it's in the same general area, and Jalen himself admitted that the entire region essentially needs to be repaired now. That doesn't sound like a quick recovery. Surgery seems imminent, and even if he does come back late, there's no guarantee he'll be anywhere near 100%. This is a major blow. So now the Bears are left with a major question mark at the cornerback position. Internally, the likely starters on the outside will be Tariq Stevenson and Terrell Smith. Stevenson, a former second-round pick, came into this season with high expectations. But let's be honest, he hasn't lived up to them. It's been a rough start, and the margin for error just got a whole lot slimmer. Smith has been a mixed bag. He had that electrifying pick six in Week 1, but he followed it up with a much less impressive showing in Week 2. If these two guys don't elevate their play immediately, Chicago is going to be in serious trouble. There's also some depth, though it's not exactly inspiring. Josh Blackwell is more of a nickel and special teams piece. Jalen Jones was brought back, but is known more for his work on special teams than as a reliable corner on defense. Nick McLeod has some versatility and can line up outside in a pinch, but he's better suited for nickel packages. None of these names scream solution. This is a stopgap group at best, and if the Bears are going to make any kind of push or even stay competitive, they're going to have to explore the market. Short-term or long-term, this secondary now needs a spark. And realistically, it needs Tariq Stevenson to step up. The guy was drafted to be a difference maker, and we've seen flashes of what he's capable of. But this scheme was supposed to fit him better than the last one. He was supposed to be more comfortable, more confident. That hasn't translated on the field. He's getting beat in coverage, missing assignments, and just not playing at the level expected from a top pick. Detroit was always going to be a tough matchup. Jameson Williams can fly, and Amon-Ra St. Brown is a technician with his routes. But even so, Stevenson has to be better. There's no more cushion for him to figure things out slowly. The time is now. Looking ahead, the Bears will have to face the Cowboys in Week 3, and that's not the kind of game you want to go into with an untested and underperforming secondary. Matt Eberflus returns to Soldier Field, and while that subplot adds a little drama, the focus has to be on how this defense holds up against the Cowboys offense that can put points on the board in bunches. This game is going to be a measuring stick, not just for the corners, but for the whole defensive unit. Now, if Chicago really wants to address this problem, they're going to have to look outside the organization. There are a few free agents still out there, and a couple of trade options worth considering. None of these guys are perfect, and the fact that they're still available says a lot. But if you're desperate, and the Bears might be, they can make sense. Stephon Gilmore is probably the most recognizable name on the list. He's 35 now and definitely past his prime, but he still managed 9 pass breakups last year while playing for the Vikings. His speed isn't what it used to be, but his experience and football IQ are still there. He knows the division, which adds a little extra value. The real question is whether he'd want to join a struggling team at this point in his career. Chicago might not be all that appealing to a veteran chasing a ring, but if the front office can sell him on a leadership role and some consistent playing time, maybe it could work. Kendall Fuller is another guy in a similar mold. He's not as old, but his peak years are behind him. Still, he's been a steady CB2 type and racked up 42 breakups over the past 4 seasons. He missed some time with injury last year and was surprisingly cut by Miami. Honestly, it's a bit shocking he hasn't been picked up yet. Maybe that's a red flag, or maybe he's just waiting for the right opportunity. Either way, the Bears should at least make a call. They need depth, and they need experience. There's also Asante Samuel Jr., who would be a really intriguing addition if he were actually available to play. Unfortunately, he's not. After just 4 games last season due to neck and shoulder injuries, he had a spinal fusion procedure in April. He wasn't cleared in July, and now the latest update says he's scheduled for another CT scan in October. At best, he might be ready for the second half of the season. That doesn't help Chicago in the short term, and if you're looking for immediate help, he's not the answer. But keep his name in mind down the road. He's young, talented, and could be a low-risk, high-reward play later in the year. James Bradberry is another free agent floating out there, but this one feels more like a cautionary tale. He didn't play at all last year after a foot injury in camp eventually turned into something more serious, possibly an Achilles issue. He wasn't looking sharp before that either. In 2023, he struggled heavily and even started getting some reps at safety before Philly cut ties. He's also been transitioning into more of a nickel role, which doesn't necessarily help Chicago's current need for an outside guy. Unless he comes in on a minimum deal and completely surprises in a workout, it's hard to see the upside. Emmanuel Moseley is another name, one that Bears fans might remember from his time in Detroit. When healthy, he's actually been a solid CB2. The problem is he just cannot stay on the field. He's only played in 8 games over the past 3 years. If you're trying to replace a guy who's out for the season, bringing in someone with a similar injury history doesn't feel like the smartest move. Still, for a vet minimum deal, maybe you take the gamble and hope he can give you a handful of solid performances down the stretch. The most viable short-term options still appear to be Gilmore and Fuller. They bring the right combination of experience and availability. They're not elite anymore, but they don't need to be. The Bears just need competence right now. This isn't about finding a future Pro Bowler. It's about surviving the next few weeks without Jaylon Johnson. That said, if Chicago wants to think a little bigger and maybe add someone with upside beyond this season, the trade market is worth watching. Teams will start reevaluating their rosters over the next few weeks, and some names could become available that aren't on the block just yet. The key is timing. Make a move too soon, and you overpay. Wait too long, and you risk your season falling apart while you hold out hope. When it comes to exploring trade options, the Bears have a few intriguing names to consider, but none come without risk or question marks. One of the first names that came up in conversations around league circles is Deonte Banks. The former first-round pick from the 2023 draft hasn't exactly lived up to the hype so far. He's shown flashes here and there, even had a couple of interceptions during his rookie season, but consistency has been a real issue. He gets beat far too often, and for someone drafted that high, you expect a much more polished product by now. That said, the physical tools are all there. He's got size, speed, and athleticism, and sometimes all a young cornerback needs is a change of scenery and the right scheme to unlock that potential. From a cost perspective, it's not a huge risk, maybe a 5th or 6th round pick or a late round pick swap, something in that range. If the Bears think they could develop him and get him back on track, it could be worth the gamble. But if they're looking for someone who can step in right away and elevate the defense, Banks might not be that guy yet. Another option that was brought up is Khalil Ringo, who, like Banks, has the raw athletic ability but hasn't managed to put it all together at the pro level. Coming out of Georgia, Ringo was viewed as a high-upside prospect with a powerful frame and great straight-line speed. The Eagles took a chance on him in the 4th round, but his preseason performances have left a lot to be desired. He had a legitimate opportunity to earn a starting spot opposite Darius Slay this summer, and just couldn't seize it. Right now, he's buried on the depth chart in Philadelphia, and it wouldn't take much to pry him away. Maybe a 6th or 7th round pick swap gets it done. Still, the Bears have to ask themselves, is Ringo really an upgrade over what they already have in Stevenson or Terrell Smith? Because if not, there's little value in bringing in another developmental project when you already have your hands full trying to fix the secondary. If Chicago is serious about finding an immediate impact player, then Greg Newsome should be at the top of their list. Newsome has quietly been one of the most consistent corners for the Cleveland Browns over the past few years. He's physical, smart, and brings a level of experience that this secondary desperately needs right now. Even more importantly, he's in a contract year. The Browns might not be in a rush to extend him, and if they start losing games, they could be tempted to flip him for future draft capital. That's where the Bears could swoop in. Unlike some of the other names floating around, Newsome would come in as a starter from day one. He knows what it takes to compete at a high level, and he's shown he can hang with top receivers. The price tag might be a bit steeper, maybe a fifth-round pick straight up, but that's the kind of move that says, we're still trying to win now. And honestly, that kind of statement could be important in a locker room that just took a gut punch losing Jaylon Johnson. Of course, it's always easy to throw around trade scenarios in theory. In practice, it comes down to how aggressive Ryan Poles wants to be. The Bears are at crossroads. Losing your number one cornerback this early in the season forces the front office to either commit to a short-term fix and stay competitive or start thinking long-term and ride things out with the young guys. That decision could shape the rest of the year and maybe even dictate what happens to this coaching staff moving forward. Because let's be real, if this defense falls apart without Johnson and the team starts piling up losses, people are going to be held accountable. And Poles has to decide whether he wants to be proactive or reactive. There's also the locker room dynamic to consider. Jaylon Johnson is not just a player. He's a leader. When a team loses a guy like that, it affects more than just the coverage scheme. It hits morale, confidence, communication. Bringing in a veteran who can stabilize the group, even if it's just someone like Gilmore or Fuller, can go a long way. It signals to the rest of the roster that the organization is still committed to competing, still trying to hold the line. That can be important in a young team trying to find its identity. And let's not forget the bigger picture here. The NFC North is not exactly a powerhouse division this year. The Lions look solid, but they're not unbeatable. The Packers are still figuring things out with Jordan Love, and the Vikings are trending downward. If the Bears can hold the fort, get healthy, and get consistent play out of their offense, there's still a path to being in the mix later in the season. But that path gets a whole lot harder if the secondary becomes a weekly liability. The front office has to weigh all of that and make a decision quickly, because the schedule isn't getting any easier. One thing's for sure, the Cowboys are going to test this group immediately. With Jaylon Johnson gone, you can expect Dak Prescott to target the outside corners relentlessly. That's going to be a massive challenge for Stevenson and Smith. Prescott is coming off a strong performance and has no shortage of weapons to work with. If the Bears can't find a way to slow down the passing attack, this game could get out of hand fast. And with the defense already under scrutiny, this is not the kind of exposure they can afford right now. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Chicago Bears. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In a move that has sent shockwaves through the NFL rumor mill, the Chicago Bears are reportedly closing in on a deal with wide receiver XAVIER Worthy. An insider suggests that this could instantly create the fastest defensive unit in the league. The buzz started circulating late last night, with sources hinting that the Bears are desperate to inject speed and explosiveness into a passing game that has long struggled to keep up with the league's elite defenses. Worthy, a dynamic and electric talent known for leaving defenders grasping at air, has been linked to several teams, but Chicago's apparent interest has sparked excitement and a fair amount of skepticism among fans and analysts alike. Imagine a Bears offense with a weapon capable of stretching the field on every snap. Rumor has it that Worthy's presence could transform the Bears' attack into a true vertical nightmare for opponents, combining blazing speed with precision route running. Whispers in the league suggest that this isn't just about adding talent. It's about a statement. The Bears, long seen as a team rebuilding cautiously, might be signaling that they're ready to take risks, push boundaries, and redefine their offensive identity. Some insiders even speculate that if the deal goes through, Chicago could boast the fastest receiving core in the NFL, a tantalizing prospect that has pundits debating the potential havoc this could wreak on opposing secondaries. Of course, all of this remains unconfirmed, and the Bears organization has remained characteristically tight-lipped. But the rumor mill rarely lies without reason, and the timing of the chatter, coinciding with strategic front office moves, has fueled speculation to a fever pitch. Fans are already imagining highlight reel catches, long touchdown sprints, and a completely reimagined aerial attack. If Worthy truly joins Chicago, the Bears might be on the cusp of unveiling a speed-driven offense that no defense will want to face. For now, it's all whispers and speculation, but the NFL landscape is buzzing with the possibility. Could the Bears, long criticized for conservative play, suddenly become the league's fastest, most electrifying offense? Only time, and perhaps a signature on a contract, will tell. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Chicago Bears, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.